still transferring it to American dollars in the very end, so it really doesn't matter. It's just it's just something to make them look good, to make their people look good. At the end, it all gets transferred.
All right, Ninjas, we're back up on the JTube. We are back up on the JTube. Since this conference is going to go live here in a little bit, so we'll be broadcasting on there. Let's see here. Broadcast going to start here very soon. We are grinding today, my friends. We are grinding today. So we are back up. The grind doesn't end, my boys. So we are back up.
In order to accept that your stock market will go up. And where does it get that revenue from? It goes to the countries that it still is able to influence and says, China, please continue to buy Chevron and Exxon's oil. And please transfer back to the US stock market. But please just don't do one thing. Please do not allow the Venezuelan people to receive any money. Keep them in poverty. That's what's happening.
America has over 700 military bases around the world. To call it our regional power is a little obtuse, my friend.
It was a global hegemon that is being managed. Why do you think every single country in the world is suddenly having changes right now? Suddenly the UAE leaves Yemen and Yemen's under charge of Saudi Arabia. Suddenly you get Israel recognizing Somaliland, and UAE is the one that's got most of the investments in Somaliland. Suddenly, Turkey and Somalia are securing their Red Sea trade routes. Suddenly, all the Gulf countries are resolving, and Iran's no longer funding proxies. What do you think's happening?
You're talking about a shithole. You're talking about a shithole in Africa where when Donald Trump came
care.
to power,
It's a shithole in Africa.
South America, sir.
It's a shithole in Africa because it had to take. It's a shithole in Africa.
South America was communist, sir.
It's a shithole in Africa, not because of communism, because America made it a shithole and kept it a shithole. And for the first time...
You can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, when Donald Trump came to power in the second term, all of South America was under a dictatorship or leftist communist. Now half of it has either voted in capitalist or they got rid of the goddamn communist Maduro.
You're like an uncle.
Half of South America to become capitalist again. I call that a win.
You're like an Uncle Sam cartoon, making people believe that America was actually about exporting democracy and saving the world through capitalism.
Capitalism. No, I'm not about democracy.
America ain't
I'm not
capitalist.
About democracy. I'm about American imperialism. I only want America to win.
Well, American imperialism is about to take over the Western Hemisphere. You've got Europe. I know you hate the people in Europe. You got UK.
Who's a bunch of homosexuals? Hell yeah, I do.
Well, they're your peeps. Bro. They're your peeps. You got UK.
Hey, my people, got Europe. A bunch of homosexuals.
Okay, well, you've got a bunch of homosexuals, which are your peeps. Okay, that's your force. Peeps, bro. That's your army. You ain't got Saudi to the same extent you used to have.
Saudi has Pakistan, so we have Pakistan. That's simple.
But Saudi is reaching the stage right now where they're going.
No, they're not.
They are.
No, they're not.
Every single statistic.
They're never going to switch. See,
yeah, but Gary, you've got feelings. You got feelings, Gary. I got stats.
That is a fundamental difference between me and you. Simon, that is the fundamental difference between me and you. You believe Saudi switching sides. I know they will never
It's
switch
not
sides because if
switching
they
sides,
do, the
Gary.
whole regime will fall.
Gary,
The whole
understand
regime will
what's
fall.
happening. Understand what's happening. The world is being split up. China is the most important customer to Saudi, and Saudi is buying American assets because it wants NVIDIA to build those AI data centers in their country. It wants NVIDIA to sell chips to China. Trump is forcing NVIDIA to sell chips to China, and China's saying no right now because they think it's a national security risk. You are literally a cartoon of Western propaganda believing that this is about
Simon,
making America
doesn't
great
that
again.
mean if
If you're
China
J,
rejected the chips, doesn't that mean that there were backdoors in the chips? That's why that's the only reason Trump allowed them to be sold to China in the first place. And
possibly,
China
There
yeah,
you
rejected it
go.
because they said,
po-
"Oh, we don't want your CIA chips."
possibly. But again, America's not a sovereign country. America is run by the same
What
corporations that want to
country is
work with
sovereign
China.
then? If
Sorry,
America's not sovereign, what country is, Simon? What country
and
is sovereign?
well, none of them
Israel.
fully because the world's moving into regional blocks, and America is
Well, there you go. So,
fully corporate controlled, fully corporate controlled.
and so is
This war
China,
is for
and so is
Chevron and
every other
Exxon, not for
country.
the
And
American
and and
people.
and, and you know what? I praise the Saudi Arabians for buying assets in America. They're finally using the Zionist playbook and using soft power to influence America because all that war shit that every other fucking in the Middle East has tried has fucking failed. So bravo to the
Correct.
Saudi Arabian
Correct.
government for taking the
Bravo.
fucking Zionist
I
playbook
I
and
I
actually
agree.
doing it the right way.
I agree. They've used reverse IMF on the IMF, and you are now the IMF. And guess what the American people are, and the British people, and the European people are? They're the global South, broke ass people on the wrong side of wealth inequality that are about to experience the military industrial complex and the wrath of the colonization that you have always done covertly around the world is coming home. That's what's
But
happening in the
Simon,
world.
foreign direct
It's not
investment
coming home, brother.
is
I
a good
promise you
thing.
that.
It's coming
Foreign
home.
direct investment is good. It's good that people give us their money to build in America.
Was the
Everyone's always
IMF
thought that.
good for the countries that took an IMF loan?
As if
Completely
they
different,
haven't
Simon.
mismanaged it,
Completely
yes, it
different.
was. The problem with
Or
the
it's not.
IMF is that
Equity
they
is
come in
better.
with strings attached that
Equity.
say don't waste the money,
What does
and then the countries
equity?
waste the money, and then no one will lend to them anymore.
Foreign direct investment means foreign control. If you are a startup and you take venture capital money, your mission changes. If you go public, your mission
Simon,
changes.
Simon,
Foreign direct
can we stop
investment
playing
is a
games to the people?
syringe from
Can,
the economy
can
over
we
to the
stop
country
playing
making
games,
the
Simon?
investment.
Simon, stop playing games. You know damn well they're going to have inflation go up 20, 30%. That's going to kill the whole fucking debt, bro. You know how this game works. They're just going to
That's
inflate their ways out the debt.
And it
That's
doesn't
how it
mean
works.
control. We
that's
know it
correct.
doesn't
But
mean control because of the
how is that going
existence
to help
of
the American
China.
people? How's that going to help the American people?
Because we still got the petrodollar system, and as long as Saudi Arabia is with us, then
Right.
nothing can touch us. I want everyone in America to understand Saudi Arabia is our greatest ally. We have no greater ally than the Saudi Arabia
I
and
agree
their
with that,
monarchy.
But in the Middle
power
East,
is
They will
changing.
never switch sides. No matter what Simon tells you, they will never switch
Gary,
sides because if they do, that basically means they're going to be
Gary,
Romanov.
stop the
I hope
cartoon.
people understand
It's
what that
not
means.
stop the
This is
cartoon.
entertaining,
Countries
chat. I ain't
don't
gonna lie.
work in. I've got my
This is super entertaining, guys.
Saudi needs China and
the
America.
Saudis do play both sides. It's true that they play both
Exactly.
sides.
Every country does. Every country can be enemies and friends simultaneously on any one singular
Yeah,
issue.
but Simon,
This cartoon.
Simon, where I disagree with you, and by the way, I agree with most of what you said on the space. I think just like the power dynamic, I think Saudi knows that if they were to get out of line more than they're allowed to, they would no longer be in charge. So I
Correct, but
think,
they're not getting
Exactly.
out of line. They're not getting
yeah,
out of
I
line.
agree. I agree with that.
Who is the best friends of the Saudi sovereign wealth fund? Every bank and financial institution in America loves the Saudis. Every single deal that they do, they go to the Saudis and they say, "Will you co-invest with us in this deal? We'll give you access to the best deal flow in the world." They're doing that because BlackRock, JP Morgan, who control America, love the Gulf and the sovereign wealth fund. So they are cooperating. They are doing deals together to change the world order, and the
Why
American
would
people and
Saudi
the
try to sink America? if it's making deals with America and it has its assets in America? Why would it think America? That makes absolutely
It's not
zero sense, Simon.
sinking America. It's turning America into a regional power with all the other very powerful forces like banks and financial institutions and China and BRICS and the Gulf Cooperation Council and all the people that actually have influence in the world. They are coordinating a controlled
Yeah.
demolition, and I don't mean a crash, I mean a controlled transition into America being a regional power and no longer a global hegemon.
Simon,
And
we
you
will
know,
always be a global
China's most
hegemon
likely gonna,
unless you take away all our military spending and all our military bases.
exactly.
That's what makes us a global hegemon.
Not happening.
No, but what's
Eh,
happening with all the what's happening to the military industrial complex stock prices relative to the world or the global GDP at the moment? America has shrunk from 60% of global GDP to 25% of global GDP. That's already happened. Now, the American stock market is the most liquid stock market in the world. The banks and financial institutions, they don't mind propping up the US stock market. They'll rinse as much money from you Americans as you'll permit. They'll carry on. If people were still buying those bonds, they'll dump them on your pension. They'll force it into a stable coin. They'll steal and take as much to pump up the price of their stocks at the expense of the American people and push wealth inequality to the limits until you civilly unrest. And at that point, they've already got the technology to put you in your cage in an Orwellian 1984 nightmare. How do I know? Because they beta tested it on Gaza and the UK. That was Palantir. That's your corporations. Those are the companies
so
that
they're going to do
control
it
right now.
everywhere. If they do it here, they're going to do it everywhere. What's your point?
Fine, but
If
I'm
they
just
do it
telling
here,
you
it's
what's
going
going
to
to
happen
happen. I'm not
everywhere in the
saying.
world. What is your point?
My point is this is
We
what's
all know
happening,
what's going to
except what's
happen.
happening.
We all know something like that's going to happen. That's what technology does. It's going to enslave us all. So if it
All I'm
happens in
saying
America,
is
it's going to
stop.
happen in Singapore. It's already
Fine.
done in China. They
I
already have a
agree.
fucking police state in China.
I agree. All I'm saying is all of your
Okay.
cartoon, you Americans, this is my hint to you. 10 decades ago, I realized what was happening to my country. I got the fuck out of my country and I figured out what I'm going to do to protect myself, my
What
family, and
country
my
is that?
communities. UK. Because
Okay,
I
well,
could
UK is a
see.
shithole, bro.
Yeah, but UK is a shithole because it went through the same process that America's going through right now. In the
It's
1900s,
a
there was a slow
shithole.
transition from the pound. There was a slow transition to weaken the pound, and we've had slow growth ever since, while the American empire took our Bank of England, turned it into the Federal Reserve, and now you have been rinsed for every asset you got, and you are at the end of that transition. And if you guys don't figure out how to protect yourself and you think this is about making America great again and America is a sovereign country, you do not know who rules your country and what they're about to do to you.
Well, Simon, see, I actually know history. And the Federal Reserve came to power in 1913, and the UK didn't officially fall off from being a superpower until officially around 1945. Some would say in the
Agreed.
1950s
Agreed.
when they lost the
Agreed.
Suez Canal. We're talking about 30 to 40 years. We're good
Agreed.
right now, Simon.
That's what's
And what you're
happening right
telling
now.
me right now can
10%
be
this year.
changed.
10%.
All that shit can be changed.
10,
All that shit can be
Max.
changed with the right leadership and power.
Max,
All that can be
10,
changed.
10% per year. Your right leadership in power has transitioned 10% per year. He'll do another 10% next year. There'll be another 10% after that. And what did you say? You said America depends upon MBS and Saudi Arabia. That ain't happening.
Correct.
If you lose 10% per year in your
Yeah.
currency, MBS ain't going to be selling his gold till
I
he's
have to
got
be
no sovereign wealth.
Simon. I have to be very careful what I say, but I'm going to say this in terms that people can understand without saying it. The Saudis can't even fire up their F-35s without American codes. I'm telling you right now, the Saudi regime knows very well. The Saudi
Correct.
leadership, which I respect very well, knows no matter how much America falls, if they ever cut ties, they're cutting their own throats. And again, I say that very respectfully to all my friends in Saudi Arabia and the leadership in Saudi Arabia, but this is well known, Simon. They will never slit their own throats, my friend.
Max, separate the American economy from the American stock market. The American stock market will be fine. The American economy will be fucked. That's what's happening right
No,
now.
but Simon, Max is
If
talking
you're
about
telling me poor people are
geopolitics.
going to become poor, yes, I agree with you.
Exactly. It's wealth inequality. So if you are on the right side of this trade in America, you are going to be fine. If you're on the wrong side of this trade in America, which is 90% of the people,
But
you're fucked.
but Simon, AI is going to take jobs away from everyone in the world. It's not just going to be wealth inequality in America. It's going to be all over the world. I've been telling people for the past couple of years, if you don't have your bag by 2029, 2030 at the latest, you're going to be in perpetual poverty with your family for the rest of your life. So I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is when that transition happens, America will still be the superpower.
There is not a superpower already. How can a superpower have 25% of global GDP when 75% of global G is happening around? And America,
What's the military? What's the military at?
what is the
It's
American
50%
military?
of all the military spending in the world is still America, my
Max,
friend.
can you explain to me how you make an F-35 fighter jet without China?
We're doing it.
I mean,
No, you're not.
they're doing it
Where
right
do
now
those
with Australia. They're
semiconductor
getting
chips?
all the they're
Where do
getting
those
all the rare
semiconductor
earth
chips and
minerals
rare earth
out of
minerals
China,
come
out
from?
of Australia.
No, they don't.
Hold on, you
Everything's
don't
they
in
don't.
get
Australia.
semiconductors from China, do you? They come from Taiwan, Japan,
Taiwan,
South Korea, and the
correct.
United States. Those are where the
Taiwan,
semiconductors get
no.
made.
America cannot create an F-35 fighter jet without Taiwan and without Netherlands. That's a
Yeah,
reality.
I
Where
agree
where
with
does
that.
Taiwan? Where does
We all know
Taiwan get
how
90% of their
TSMC and
components?
ASML work.
Where does Taiwan get all of their components from that allows them to make those semiconductor
ASML
chips?
from the Dutch, the Netherlands, but the Dutch also have
China.
international
China.
operations.
What? Understand
They
this.
get the
China,
metal from
guys,
China.
this is
Stop.
what you need to understand. China and American elites are not in a war. It is the American people that are going to be screwed. They are not in a trade war. Tariff was a way to reset the world order in recognition of the reality of today. Golf is not going to suddenly say, I hate America, I love China. Golf is going to sit in the middle of the world while America's being shrunk into a regional power and China is rising and the other side of the world. And they're going to sit in the middle of that. They're going to play both
Yeah.
sides. Of course, they're going to play both sides.
China with its one-child policy, that shit's going to catch up real soon to them.
Okay, so
China is not going to dominate the world.
right now,
China is a regional power. China
now
is a regional
it is
power.
a regional power. Exactly. I agree with
it.
you. It's
There will
multipolarity.
never be anything else. American is 700 military bases around the world. America,
And
which has seen its economy double the size of the EU in the past 25 years, will remain the military superpower
is
in
US.
the world.
The EU and America are controlled by the same damn people. For God's sake, stop being so cartoonish. You believe this? Like there's a war between the same
Stop.
financial
They were when the
institutions
Democrats
that
were in
control.
America
power,
controls
but
Europe.
Trump is
America
completely
controls
against the
Europe.
EU.
And you basically just pointed out how Saudi Arabia is buying assets in America and doing the same thing the Jews were doing for the past 50 years. So they're using their playbook and they're going to have as much influence in America as America has in Saudi Arabia. They're tied at the hip. They're tied at the hip.
I'm not
Nothing
saying,
is going to
Max,
break that relationship.
This is where you're getting me wrong. I'm not saying they're breaking their relationship. I'm saying it's moving to 50-50. And China is just as important as America, and they cannot default on either of those agreements. And the price of oil, the price of oil is the one thing that controls most of how this goes. And there is a currency war right now, and the writing is on the wall that America is already just a regional power. These are the final battles to set territory. And guess what? The global South, Asia, Africa, and Middle East, for the first time since the British and American Empire, are actually may be able to use their resources and work with someone that might actually allow them to grow rather than be completely destroyed.
Tell me, Simon. When is Japan going to switch from America to their arch rival, the Chinese? When is that going to happen?
What did Japan just do? What did the Bank of Japan? Remember, separate banking from economy. What did the Bank of Japan just do to their interest rates?
Okay, guys,
They
I'm
raised
gonna
them.
And what did
end
that
the
do
Twitter
to the
stream.
Japan
I'm
carry
gonna end the
trade
Twitter
between
stream and then
America,
fire
where
back up
hedge
with the
funds
Trump thing
in
because for
America
some
are
odd
able to
reason this shit's all
purchase US
fucked up.
assets using
It
free
won't
money
rename
from
it,
the
so I'm
Bank of
gonna
Japan.
end the stream and then start it back up for you guys on Twitter.
Listen, you
All
can
right?
talk
It
in all the
broke it.
financial terms you want.
Twitter
What is
viewers,
Japan
You can talk
doing?
in the
I'm going
financial
to end the
terms.
Twitter stream and
America
restart
has
back up
Japan
with a new
bases in
name.
Japan. Are
Hold on,
you
you know what
telling
else
me
Japan just
America's
did?
going to leave those bases
Japan just
and the
increased their
Japanese are going
military
to allow the
spending the
Chinese to
most
come take
in
those
recent
bases?
What
history.
is Japan?
Come on, man.
What is
You're talking, this is cartoonish.
hold on?
You're talking cartoonish shit.
What is
They're
Japan
arch
doing?
rivals. They hate each other.
What is Japan doing with their U.S. treasuries right now?
Selling.
They're
Simon,
selling.
Japan just increased their military spending, which is the main ask that the
Correct.
United States had of
People-
them. So they're
people
doing
are
what
getting-
we want
correct.
them to do.
people are getting America is going to be a regional power, and they're going to sell
Oh
shitloads of
my!
weapons to make
Not
military
not
And
not in
companies
your
Simon,
and,
this is
lifetime,
and
bro.
why
build up the
this is
world's
Not in
why
our
military.
Japan
lifetime, brother.
this is why
What
Japan just did
happens
a
when
trade
you're a
deal with
country and you buy
China.
America's military equipment?
The guy you just said, the country you just said is arch rivals with China, just signed a trade deal with China because the world is being divided in two. So exactly what you just said
They're,
is also
they're,
wrong.
they're, they're, American military bases are not going to be replaced by Chinese military
We're not
bases.
saying
They
that.
can
Look, this
sign
That's
is
all the
not how they
deals they
rule the
want.
world.
They
it
can
is
That's not
look,
how they rule the world.
the Jews prop up anti-Semites to
guys.
fucking make
Look,
money off them.
guys.
They don't
What,
care who they make money off. The
guys? How do
We're not
military
you
even,
is what
we're not
achieve?
tells
even
you what's
talking
in
about
place.
Jews right
The
now. We're not
military
even
is
talking
not
about Jews.
changing sides.
Military is propped
I'm
up
just
by.
bringing up an example.
What I'm saying is that they're not going to be using those military bases in order to prop up the dollar, because the financial banks and institutions are in an operation to weaken the dollar for this very reason. This is not confrontational. This is not hostile. What you are feeling as an emotion is a cartoon. The banks,
Wait, but Simon,
China,
let me
and the
bring
Gulf
this back
countries
real
are all
quick.
on the
Let
same
me bring
team.
this back. Let me ask a question of
The
both of you.
chess pieces
I'm not
have
gonna
not
jump in,
changed
but I'm
place,
gonna ask
Simon.
you and
All the chess
Max to
pieces are
answer a
still in the
question.
same places.
Max, do you think that Venezuela, it is better for America to have Maduro gone? Both you and
American
Simon asked
companies,
that question.
American stock market, or
Of
American people?
course,
Overall,
for everyone,
No, it's American stock
everything.
market, bad for the American people. American people pay inflation. American stocks make money. If you've got American stocks, then it's good for you. And by the way, I mean significant. I don't mean the
To have a communist
60% in the
regime
middle.
that has fucking Chinese and Russians is a benefit to the American people. Stop the game, Simon.
You already have a
They were part
Chinese
of the
regime.
enemy access.
Where do all your rare earth minerals? Where does a chunk of your revenue come from? Where do all your components and trade deals? Where do all of the revenue that you're
A
pushing
good
around the
chunk
world
from
right now?
China,
It is
and
interdependent
that
with
was done on
China.
purpose. And that was done on purpose to fucking handicap America, which Donald Trump is trying to fix at this time.
He ain't
100%.
fixing it.
Traitors and within
Okay,
our government
let's
allow
talk
that to
about
happen. They should all be
Trump.
executed.
Let's talk about Trump. Where is Trump investing most of his money right now?
Bitcoin. And he's
Is
investing most of his
Bitcoin
money in cryptocurrency.
is Bitcoin good for the dollar or bad for the dollar?
Bad.
Okay, where else is he investing geographically? What's the number one source? What bank is the number one source of the loans that he's been receiving? Which bank?
I would say Deutsche Bank in Germany.
I'd say ICBC in China. Now, where is most of his Trump towers going to be built?
And
All of the contracts that he's signing.
Where's the proof of that? Where's the proof of that?
Just ask ChatGPT. You can get all of the different transactions if you want to take AI as a source. Right now, where are most of the
You
Trump?
You're
really
telling me
don't
Where
the
know fact.
Chinese
You
bank
don't
is
know
giving
financial
direct
facts
payments to
whatsoever.
Donald Trump?
ICBC, a private bank in Shanghai that is part state controlled, part private. Trump has a bunch of deals that were funded by loans from ICBC. Now, where is most of the
Well, I'm
Trump
sure he has
towers?
a
17,
bunch
the
of
Where
deals
where
funded
17
by
were in
Deutsche
cover.
Bank
where
too.
are where are
That
most of the
doesn't mean
Trump
anything.
towers? Where are the most of the Trump towers going to be built over the next decade?
I would say the Middle East.
There you go. Now, just look at Trump's money, not what he said, because he's a liar, just like every politician. This is not an anomaly. This is not an exception to the rule. Taking on the deep state is a narrative because the deep state propped up the dollar and extracted wealth from the American people over to the American stock market. Everything he is doing is a rhetoric for you to believe that what he's doing is going to be okay for Americans. It ain't. It's wealth extraction, it's asset
Uh,
stripping.
I, I'll tell you what I
and by
saw.
the way, the
I
answer is
saw a
India.
president.
The most Trump
Who
properties are going
came
to be
in
built
there
in
and shut
India.
down the borders. I saw a president that activated ICE. I saw a
Okay,
president
okay.
that said, "You know what? We're not
Who,
going to have a trade deficit. We're going to have a trade
Garrett,
surplus."
one
And
at
he
a
has
time. One at a
$300
time.
billion. He got
One at a
off the
time.
goddamn trade
Okay,
surplus.
one at a time.
This is what
Who
I've seen.
benefits?
So what you're
Okay,
saying is
Gary.
not actually reality, Simon.
Gary, who benefits from ICE?
American population, obviously.
What companies on the stock market benefit from arresting as many American
You can't.
people, chucking people from prison to
Listen.
prison?
There's companies in America that benefit from cheap labor. You can't have it both ways, Simon.
Okay, now if you've got an open border, closed border, do you think Palantir is for that or against that?
I'd probably say Palantir is whoever fucking pays them the most. You think they fucking give a fuck?
So who's going to be enforcing that border policy? Is it going to be Palantir?
Most likely.
And whose
No, it's
interest
going to
does
be the
whose
United
interest
States government, and
whose interest does Palantir serve?
No. We got to be real. The U.S. government's going to give that operation in Palantir, so we got to be real. Simon does have a point.
And whose interest does Palantir serve?
Peter Thiel's.
Okay. So you're getting to the point here, right? This is about the surveillance state.
But again,
you understand why? You understand why Larry Fink?
No.
You understand?
I understand people.
You understand why the World Economic Forum
make
wanted
money.
to flood America with
People
immigrants
want to make money,
them.
Simon. This has not changed. Nothing's changed. People want to make money. That's why those systems are going to be in place. It's all it goes back to they want that fucking dollar.
Is Palantir America first?
You can make the argument that they are Israel. You can make that argument.
I don't think they're Israel first. I think they're U.S. stock market first. What do you think? What about BlackRock?
A lot of people would disagree.
I know a lot of people would disagree, but they also think that Israel rules the U.S. military-industrial complex, and I agree that I believe the opposite.
Oh, I mean, again, you're talking from a point that which many people would disagree. But go ahead.
No, we do, but that's what I'm saying. You got to get to the point here because Gary, we have to prepare people for this stuff.
Gary's on your side on this one. Simon,
I just said 15 minutes ago. I said 15 minutes ago that if you don't get rich within 2-3 years, you're cooked for the rest of eternity. I just said that. So yes, we do have to get people prepared, but it's AI that's going to do the fucking most of that damage, not this cabal you're talking about. Or maybe the cabal is actually putting in the AI, and maybe that's your point.
Gary have the same opinion on this because I've debated Gary and you on the same issue many times, and you both have the same opinion.
All right, cool. Well, on that point, we agree. Just understand that the American, from my perspective, America is a regional power already, and this is the optics that's needed in order to rinse as much money from the American people that don't have much stocks and hand it over to the American corporate class. And if you want to call them Zionists, you can call them. There's way more non-Zionists and Zionists.
About 40 to 50% of Americans have a 401k that's directly connected to the stock market.
Yeah,
so
but how?
I would say most Americans do benefit from the stock market, my friend.
Relative to their income and their wealth, that 401k is completely irrelevant for the vast majority of Americans. It's their real estate that they're
retire off that 401k. I say a lot of Americans are using that as a private mechanism to replace Social Security, which might not be there.
Correct.
So yeah, I think it actually matters for a lot of people.
I agree with that. Now, but what I don't agree is that only helps about 10% of Americans and 1% of elites. The middle bit, it ain't going to be enough for them to retire from. They need to figure out how to not rely upon the American empire propping up the stock market by stealing money, creating inflation, and handing it over to the stock market because the returns are not what they used to. There's a matrix you can look at. The return on the stocks relative to the amount of debt that's being printed right now. It is diminishing. It is falling off the scale. This is a falling empire printing money while sacrificing the dollar to prop up the US stock market.
And something else, Gary. Just one second.
I've seen, NVIDIA is a private company, and everyone here can buy stock in those companies and rise with it as well.
That's what people do need to do. That's good advice.
In the next 10 years, what percentage of Americans can contribute substantially? Because you put the date on it. You said by 2030. How much can they contribute substantially, knowing that food has gone up, everything's gone up, housing prices have gone up, rents have gone up. How much can they actually contribute to their 401k that you're saying the majority of Americans have? How much can they contribute in 10 years? Because you said that's the cutoff. If you don't have it by then, it's over.
You have to understand when that happens. When 40-50% of the people in America and other places in the world are unemployed, there's going to be something called a basic income. And they're going to use that 401k and they're going to snatch some assets and they're going to start paying people basic income. And for the smart people who think, oh, we're just going to revolt and change this. No, this ain't like the French
It's
Revolution. Hold
basically
on, let me
called
Gary,
finish.
welfare. You're
sounds
going to be
Let
on
me
sounds
finish.
welfare.
Gary,
This
sounds
is
You're going to
like
be
you
on
think
welfare.
sounds like you think that the
this,
solution to sounds like you think the solution to capitalism is communism.
no, I don't. I'm just telling you what's coming down. I don't like it, but it's just what's going to happen.
But the
When
path
you
that
have
Trump is taking
AIs,
us on,
when
the
you
path that
have
Trump is taking
AIs,
us on is communism.
when you have AIs taking out jobs, eventually you get to a breaking point where the government's going to have to be forced to give people a basic income. So that's what's going to happen in the future. You're going to have 80%, 85% of the people who are poor. You're going to have a 10% overclass, and then you can have a 1-2% at the top. That's how it's going to be in America. There's still going to be
Great, Gary.
capitalism at the top, but it's going to be
So
poor for the. I'm telling people what the future is. I'm not telling you I like it, Simon.
okay, sure. But you understand that this whole communism versus capitalism versus socialism was a psyop in order to give people talking
It was
points.
never a psyop.
Of
That's why
course it
people
was. I
were
studied
running.
economics.
People
I studied economics, and if you want that debate, we can
okay,
have it. But
okay, Mr. Economist, tell me why the East Germans risked their lives and to fucking run away to fucking West Germany. Tell me that. Tell me why people risk their lives, risk their families' lives to try to escape a communist hellhole like East Germany to get to a capitalist financial bastion like West Germany. Answer me that, Simon.
because one of them was not communist and the other wasn't capitalist.
Stop.
We're talking
Why did
about
one risk
governments
their
that are
lives to go to the
utilizing their
other?
resources and making bad decisions. America is got zero definition of capitalism right now in its current form. And
It's the
China
most
has
capitalistic
zero
country in the
definition of
world.
communism. But if you did a universal basic income and you decided to distribute all of the stock wealth to all of the 90% of the people, it sounds like the end result of your quote unquote capitalism is communism. Universal basic income and you decided
It sounds like the end result of AI is communism. That's what it is.
But
And it's not going to be
did
communist for
capitalism
everyone.
produce?
It's going to be communist for the people who are not prepared. So again, what
And you
Simon
know
is
what?
telling you might come true, but I'm telling everyone in here right now, get your bag in the next 2, 3, 4 years, or you're done. You'll be in perpetual poverty. That is what's coming. We can't change it. No matter what anyone says, you can't change that fact. Get your bag ASAP.
And guess what? You
The
know
most
where AI
the
came
most
from?
capitalist
You
country in the
know
world
where?
is Singapore, by the way, not America. Just so you
Guys,
know.
they just released Maduro's picture. Well, Trump just put it on his Truth Social a minute ago. It's pretty sad. I don't know. Anyway.
Thanks, Maze. And just
Don't feel
really
sorry
quickly,
for him.
Guys,
They're all in on it, man.
No,
the,
he's not a good
Maduro
person.
does not look like he's
one,
in on this one.
yeah,
I mean, you
just
might
Maduro's
think,
not a
but
good.
whatever.
Maduro's not a good man. Okay,
just,
let's cut
Gary,
the
just
game.
I
one
don't like his
second, just 1
politics.
second. Oh,
Shit is
sorry,
suspect.
Mace,
Go ahead.
just 1 second. No, I just want to say the press conference is going to start any minute. So when it does, we'll mute and go to it. And if I can ask everybody not to post anything in the nest, please. We've just got one post in the nest and we want to keep it like that. Sorry, Mace, go ahead. You and Gary were talking and Simon.
No, I just want to give my hold on. I want to give my mic off to Myron. He's been in here. If he wants to say something, I'd like him to speak it.
No, I'm just I was just listening to the conversation. I'm live right now on all the platforms, so I'm just like getting everything ready for this thing. So now just listening to the debate. It was interesting.
I'll give you one final thought on that as well. But
Just Simon, just
Go
before
ahead,
I
sir.
go to you, guys, we are going to be going live on the press conference in a minute or two. I believe it's a couple of minute countdown. We also have a link to our YouTube in the nest. We are streaming this live on YouTube, and we are going to be streaming regularly. We have been streaming regularly on YouTube. So if you click on the tweet in the nest above me, Khaleesi, and Santino, and follow the YouTube. And put the notifications on YouTube, and we'll be doing that regularly. So do that for me, guys. If everyone, we've got through over 3,200 people on this space. If everyone can go there and click on it, we should have at least 1,000 people who do that. So if you can do that for us, that would be awesome. Simon, back to you. Go ahead.
Can I ask
I
Myron a question real quick? Can I ask Myron a question? Myron, based on that debate, who would you hire as your financial consultant, Simon or Gary?
Well, Gary's Jewish and Simon is smart, so they'd both be great.
Wow, such a politically correct answer there, Myron.
That's such an American answer. What I would just say, look, every piece of technology that America calls capitalist, and look, I'm not here for communism, I'm not here for socialism, I'm not here for capitalism. It's all bullshit. I've studied them all. None of them actually apply. You just have a country and their
Which is
resources
the
and
best
give.
system? Which is the best
You,
out of
there's,
all three of them?
I believe
What
that
provides more
I
people with
believe
wealth?
I believe that using resources in order to minimize the amount of tax that people need to pay, and then allowing innovation to the private sector, and having a government that can't be taken over by private sector and is small, is the best model. And that doesn't exist. You need you need hard money for that. But
I
the
didn't
banks
ask
will
you
never
that.
allow that to
I didn't
exist.
ask you that question, Simon. I live in reality. Out of
Which country,
communism,
Simon, has the
If I
best
could
capitalism,
live,
economic system?
if I
and
could live in a
socialism,
capitalist,
what is the best?
yeah, but it's a hybrid model. It's always a hybrid model. There's no such thing as pure capitalism or pure socialism or pure
Which
communism. It
country
doesn't
would you
exist.
pick, Simon? What country would you pick? Which country system would you pick out of all the countries out there?
Well, I'd like a government that actually performs its function, is not co-opted by private interest, with a private sector that's not co-opting government.
It doesn't exist, Simon. That doesn't
Exactly.
exist. Out of the
Exactly.
basic
Well,
garbage that's out there right now,
it does.
which
It just
one are you
doesn't
taking?
scale. Oh, of course, I do. Like. Well, tell me two countries. Which one are you asking? There is. Tell me a communist country and a capitalist country.
I mean, listen, I
Are
don't.
you saying would I rather
I would
live
never
in
want to live.
China or America right now? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
China
Go
or
ahead.
America?
they're almost similar, though, aren't they? Come on.
No.
China's
In
better in a lot of
in
aspects.
China, if you talk bad about the government, you'll be arrested. In America, you might get praised. Very big difference.
Poor,
We're not talking about free speech. It's about the system.
No. Free speech is about the system.
No, but we're
yeah.
talking
The free
about the
speech does
economic
never
system.
exist in communism,
Free,
Solon. Free speech never exists in communism. Free speech exists in America.
free speech is your
In the United
Under
States of
compensation.
America,
capitalism.
you basically have the government who basically subsidizes the companies. In China, the government and the companies work together. There's hardly any difference in terms of there's a China model, there's a US model. Neither is a capitalist model, neither is a communist model. That's just ridiculous basic thinking.
I think the Chinese propped up their EV market by funding 200 companies. Not too sure about that.
Hold on,
Sulaiman.
right now, let's look at America. So, American technology is the pride of America. Every single significant technology that exists in our iPhones, to our personal computers, to artificial intelligence, it was all created by the US government on money that was printed, and then it was handed over to the quote unquote entrepreneurs so that you could privatize the losses and so you could
And
you could
bailout after
privatize the
bailout.
gains and socialize the losses. Every technology that you say was created by brilliant entrepreneurs in a garage in America was 100% created by the government to kill people, and then you got it.
And if you
I
look at
mean,
Chinese
that's
EV
nothing new.
technology, Max, go to Dubai and tell me how many Teslas you see versus BYDs. Right? Chinese EV technology would put Tesla out of business, and we don't allow that technology in because one of our greatest companies would go bankrupt.
We don't. Why is
Yeah,
Tesla still selling
Tesla would go
cars
bankrupt.
in China
Because
then?
Tesla would go
Why are they
bankrupt.
still selling cars in China?
I'll tell you why.
It's
I'm not
Because
disagreeing
northern
that
China had a model. I'll tell you why,
I'm
Gary.
actually not
let me answer that
disagreeing.
question.
The Chinese are much better cars than Americans, no doubt.
Gary, I'll tell you why China did it. Because China said, as long as we can control all the components and all the manufacturing base and all the parts, will allow some American companies to come into China. And because China doesn't believe in non-free, in the free market, you're not meant to have copyright, you're not meant to have trademarks, you're meant to allow any entrepreneur to copy anything at will in order to create the maximum amount of competition possible. Well, China believes in competition. So they said American companies can come and build their shit here. And we
All right, guys, I'm going to mute this real quick. I'm going to read some chats. We are waiting for the press conference. Niggas are late as hell. Should have been at 11 o'clock. But let's see here. Let's read some of these chats. Do you think Israel is behind the hit on Venezuela so it could take on Iran with one less ally? That could be a part of it. Do you think we could take a China-Russian alliance in a war? It'd be tough. We'd get destroyed. We'd all get destroyed. Gary, it does sound like an Uncle Sam cartoon character. Sadly, Simon's right. The people in the power will push the American into poverty, and when shit hits the fan, they'll move to Asia and the Middle East, who happen to be Jays. Yeah, well. The British right, unfortunately. But what a smug fuck. Reminds me of Douglas Murray. My birthday tomorrow, turning 30. Thank you for doing this today. It got you outside logic. Southside says, Hey, brother, just a reminder that sleep is important, and the longer you stay up listening to these women, you'll have a smooth brain by the end of it. Yep, well, got to grind for you guys. Can you just nuke the East and rebuild? Well, it happens. And Caro95, subscribe. Welcome to the OSS, bro. All you guys that are joining OSS, love you guys, man. Thank you. That is how I'm able to keep doing what I do. So Caro95, thank you for joining the OSS. Also, guys, you know, we're putting in some good views on X, man. We got like 1,000 concur watching live over there, which is a lot. For Twitter. So that's 1,000 to 2,000 watching live. That's pretty lit for X. So we're cooking, man. We are cooking. So I'll say that. It's good to see. It's really good to see. Anyway, let's get back to the debate here for you guys. Are they? Oh, okay. Never mind. We're back. We're back.
And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement,
Bro sounds drunk.
successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, maybe like never before.
Bro had to make fun of Biden.
These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in what's called a ready position, but they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far, with capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have, and you see that even if you just look at the boats, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do
Thank
a
God,
second
bro.
wave.
Hell no.
A much bigger wave, actually.
Bro, we don't want soldiers dying over Venezuela,
this was
bro.
pinpoint, but we have a
Hell
much
no.
bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship. They'll be heading to, ultimately, New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over in particular the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago, a little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. Been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%.
Memphis is trash. Guys, smash that like button for me, by the way. Smash the like button.
Called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. And it was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster, but it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there. When they need us, we'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing
Trump
what
is
happened.
cooked, bro. This nigga
As
tired.
I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into
Bruh.
the United States
This nigga cooked.
to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States.
This nigga cooked, bro.
But no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot. By a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security strong, stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone, and Venezuela people are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
All right, thank God. Maybe he'll give us some real details on what the fuck happened, man. Bro was just yapping, nigga. Oh, God.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Come on, Donnie.
Finally, a
Get some
commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the President said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department
neocon talking
is
point.
Proud to help deliver it.
Guys, whenever they say peace through strength, that is a neocon fucking classic line right there.
Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation, Mr. Chairman.
All right, now we'll get some details.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States, and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal. an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings, but when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as
basically everything,
piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the
SEALs went in there
persons.
probably. SEALs.
On
definitely.
arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully
Translation, they killed a bunch of people on their way out.
Exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points.
Marco
Nicolas
Jubio
Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
make sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think that the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba, Mr. President?
Please. Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying.
Yeah, easy for you to say when you're not the one in the line of fire. We don't want our soldiers dying, bro.
This in vain. This is not.
Come on, man.
This is a very dangerous
for Venezuela.
Attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. They stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Would run Venezuela.
Well, it's largely going to be for a period of time the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Rubio would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship going?
I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Translation, give us all your oil, bitch.
Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
He has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
I'll give you guys a breakdown on this after.
In advance.
And Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice. And the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak.
That's the key, chat.
This would not be good.
It's a law enforcement mission.
General, I think it would be a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, A lot of ships out there, they sort of knew we were coming. We went there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
People to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it. Go ahead, finish.
To be in the time being right now. Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to
probably
the
Brooklyn.
These things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards.
Not with
Did
me.
that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's when we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot.
Translation: Israel was absolutely going to nuke Iran. That's why he had to step in and do that operation. The Israelis wanted to nuke Iran.
Not a victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old.
To be clear, the reason why we killed Soleimani, guys, he's referring to Qasem Soleimani, who was the head of the IRGC at the time. He's referring to that, saying that because, quite frankly, Soleimani was fucking the Israelis up.
Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing.
He was the architect of the axis of resistance.
And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and drugs?
And Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it. In other words, we'll be selling oil. Probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying, Mr. President, are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that?
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country. And they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly when you look at the border from 2020. What they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms of, I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. And that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela? And will you be sending in U.S. military
troops
to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States. And frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
In the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're very protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
And are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. and we want to help the people of. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, you know, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, you know, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, you know, they were, you know, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, they basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
The answer is yes. Yes. No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the
Mr. President,
leader.
is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years? You know,
Well, you know, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year, is going to be a great thing, and the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Going to send in the U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly.
Guys, do me a favor. Smash that like button for me, okay? I don't want to be on YouTube, but I'm on here just for you guys, give you guys this coverage. Smash that like button for me. Okay, smash the like button. Let's get to 3,000 plus likes. Let's get that engagement up. We taking over. 2026, niggas.
He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground, and that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go one word.
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well, that's always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people. I thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5.
They were trying to Jew us.
And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, so interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's go into the Twitter space, guys, and give some analysis on this. And I'll go ahead also, chat, and we'll cover, you guys really want the track stuff, so I'll cover that as well. I'll cover tracks. I'll cover a little bit more clavicular with this girl. We'll cover the Twitter space. Let's see here. Let me unmute this shit.
It is the 51st day. It's literally become an actual vassal of the United States. They're not even trying to hide it. That's the good thing about Trump. He doesn't hide these things. He just says it. He just says it. So you get the real life kind of situational content of what's really going on. Guys, do retweet, reshare the space. We are live. We're going to be continuing this discussion on. We've been going for almost 12 hours now. And actually, I've been going for 24 hours. We've all been going 24 hours because we did the space before this. We've also got Tweet in the Nest, which is YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube because some people were claiming that the space is a bit choppy. So you can go to the YouTube link. It's above me, Khaleesi, and Santino. Just click on the link and you can... And you're awesome.
Oh, shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so just so you guys know, I brought up the volume a little bit. We got what? Almost 7,000 you guys. We got over 7,000 you guys in here. Welcome to the stream. We officially have more live viewers than Abba and Preach, bitch ass niggas. Okay, because we are better than them. Because we're diversified, we cover every topic. We don't just gossip on a bunch of other bitch ass YouTubers from Anus and Reach. So we're gonna give some analysis, talk about this, and yeah, let's see what's going on. I'll be on for a little bit longer. Yeah, let's see what we can talk about here.
Not on the what you call it again? Yeah, we've got people in the chat who've been going live on the YouTube for hours. Okay, let's talk about this. America is controlling Venezuela. America is basically threatening Colombia. They're threatening Cuba, and we know Cuba, that is a Marco Rubio wet dream. So let's talk about that. Let's go to Simon. Simon, what's your thoughts on what you heard?
And guys, smash the like button for me, please. Smash it on YouTube. Smash it.
I said the greater geopolitical thing is the world is being split into regions. And China, Maduro, Russia, and the corporate interests in America would have all, I believe, reached this negotiation. I think this would have been the negotiated outcome, and you need a theatrical event in order to execute what has been agreed. And so I think basically the bigger powers have been splitting up contracts around the world. They basically said, right, we're going to do all of our technical NVIDIA and all those contracts, Palantir, they're going to be deployed across the Middle East, which will make less revenue for military companies. So where do we make up for that revenue to pump up the US stock market and roll over the US debt? So they go, the Southern Hemisphere in Europe is where we're going to make all these military contracts. We'll allow for additional revenue for Chevron and Exxon by taking over Venezuela. We'll look at other regions that we can divvy out our corporate interests. And the American people, you have to pay for it. You get the inflation. We issue some more bonds. And those bonds go back to the US stock market that get all these major contracts and they get the revenue. And then you've got to also escalate in Europe because essentially they would have agreed that Ukraine's go into Russia. How do you achieve that? Well, BlackRock and various interests that are acting via proxies like UK, the World Bank, and the IMF, they've collateralized much of the resources. Those are going to be pushed back up to the US stock market and various companies in the asset management side. There'll be massive financial contracts that are being constructed. And basically Europe will continue to sell a bunch of military weapons. NATO has increased expense to 5%. That means that the UK, the Bank of England, and the European Central Bank are going to print more money, create more inflation, make wealth inequality worse across Europe, manufacture more civil unrest, and then they'll get their Palantir contracts and their surveillance state contracts and everything that's being beta tested across Europe. But the money will make its way up to the US stock market, and the government will pay for it, and the average person is going to get poorer. The Venezuelan people on.
All right, man. I'm gonna go ahead and cut to OSS, and we're gonna talk about this shit. I'm gonna give you guys the real deal. Now that we've watched all the different shit, we're gonna. Sometimes I hate the Simon yaps too much. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Sometimes he yaps way too much. I'll come back to that space after, but I'm gonna give you guys my fucking analysis on this shit. And it's connected. We got a lot of dots connected. So let's go ahead, guys. We're going to switch on over to OSS. You niggas know what time it is, okay? I'm going to cut off YouTube, Rumble, everything. We're going to go to OSS, okay? It's only $1. Join in there. Of course, the bitch-ass niggas are going to cry in the chat, in the YouTube chat, as always. Hey, man, I'm demonetized on YouTube, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Gave you guys, I've been on for 8 hours and 40 minutes now. Free content, nigga. Literally 8 hours of free 8 hours and 40 minutes of free content. So I'm going to switch over to OSS, guys, because at the end of the day, it ain't free to run this channel. It's very expensive. It's cost me like 30 fucking K a month plus. So, hey, we got to keep this shit running. So just get the code. Use the code LYouTube. It's literally pinned at the top of the chat. jump in for the month, support the mission. If not, then no worries. No worry. If you don't want to, that's cool. You don't have to. I'm also going to cover the track situation, and I'm also going to cover Clav getting the full argument with this girl. So we're going to cover all that stuff. Someone said, Myron, you in an OSS? Yeah, you can get the fuck out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of my shit. I've been told you that I've been demonetized. You can enjoy the Shadow Realm, nigga.
Looks like you're going to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
We're switching on over, bro. It's OSS time. Come on over, OSS gang. We're on nigga time. We're switching over to OSS. You niggas know what time it is. We got the A playing. All right, come on over, niggas. LU2 is the code. We're going to break down this shit. We're going to cover it in full. I'm going to give you guys the full thing because now it's all coming back together. It's all coming together for me now. Why?